When you're doing the energy clearing, do you ever pick up on energy that's in the home or in the office space that doesn't belong? And what does that look like? And can it be cleared?
It can be cleared. It always is cleared. I don't finish until it is cleared. I did come across a ghost in a home in London last year, and that was an unrelated identity, but the feelings of the ghost that had not crossed over were similar to the feelings being felt in the household and explained a lot of the issues there. So when we helped her cross over, that cleared up a lot.
Hey, it's Amy. Welcome to Create Magic at Work, where we cast visions for a future of work where business decisions ripple outward to our teams, our communities, the planet, and humanity as a whole. If you're ready to edge walk instead of sleepwalk through your leadership, you're in the right place. So let's start making magic at work. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Create Magic at Work. Today, I'm super excited because I don't think we've ever talked about this topic in depth in the 4.5 to 5 years. I'd have to double check my math that this show has been running. So I invited Margaret Solorio on to Create Magic at Work to talk to us about the energy of our homes and of our workspaces and how we can make that energy elevated. Margaret Solorio is an intuitive guide, energy mentor, and author of Make Ease Your Vibe. Make Ease Your Vibe. I love that. She is the creator of the Home Frequency Reset, a transformative approach that helps people clear energetic clutter and realign their spaces to support clarity, ease, and personal growth. Through her podcast, Intuitive Wisdom, her one-on-one work, and her teachings on energy and environment, Margaret blends grounded spiritual insight with practical energy work, helping conscious individuals understand how their surroundings directly influence their emotions, choices, and sense of self. Her mission is to help people feel energetically at home, both in their physical spaces and within themselves. Margaret, thank you for being a guest today, and thank you for joining us. I can't wait to dive into the conversation.
Thank you so much. I'm very excited to be here.
Yeah, so I want to start off with talking about stagnant energy. And the reason why is because my thought or my head immediately goes to like offices,
Mhm.
people's offices at work. And even thinking about my old office in the corporate space, I'm like, ugh. Like, even if I try to bring a plant or bring something to it that helped elevate the frequency or the vibe of the space, I just never felt like it was like, I don't know if this is the right word, but it felt like stagnant energy.
Mhm.
And so, for those of us that feel like we need a glow up or some better energy in our work from home spaces and in our office spaces, where should we start?
Yeah. Well, definitely with what you just said, caring about how you feel and tuning in to that energy. And there's a lot of times kind of intuitive in all the work I do, it's usually small changes with a big impact. So
Hmm.
if you watch what you're tolerating and see something that, oh, that kind of energetically weighs me down, that could be a simple fix. And then I won't weigh me down every time I get frustrated with it. That's a great place to start. But in general, pretty much all the spaces I work with, it's comes down to lighting, air, and nature. So
Mm.
if you can look at the lighting, a lot of times, like you said, we're in maybe spaces we either inherited or we don't have that much control of. But you can always add a lamp and maybe instead of using overhead lighting or look at where the windows are and how you're positioned, allowing that light to support you in your day. Like maybe if it's in the evening, you have lower lighting. Those kind of little shifts can really affect your creativity and how and your workflow. And then with air, same thing. If you can open a window, I know some of the worst office spaces I've worked in had no windows, and that was part of the problem.
Yeah.
But if you can refresh the air by opening the windows once a day, that makes a big difference. When I see energy in my mind's eye, it often looks like the weather maps where they draw the air currents with the arrows kind of flowing through the space. So if you can imagine the energy in your home flows from your front door through your house, but out the back in somewhat of a similar fashion, allowing the air to flow and help move it, just like when we move our physical bodies, it helps our energy start moving. That can really help. If you can't open a window, then changing the frequency somehow. You can spray an essential oil spray, or maybe you can light a candle that you enjoy, something that shifts energetically the air. And then nature. Nature, I like to tune into whatever your favorite scent is. So for me, my favorite scent is my sense of sight. So I have lots of nature prints around my home, mountains and things. That brings me joy. You could literally bring in a bouquet of flowers if it's smell for you. Again, maybe a scented candle or those fresh flowers. If it's hearing, maybe you play soft nature sounds in the background, like birds chirping or something. Something that's subtle that lifts your mood. I think a lot of times we forget, we remember when we have guests over to our home that we're creating a vibe and everything, but we forget, or either we tolerate less, that this is our sanctuary, whether it's your workspace or your home relaxing space. This is supposed to be there to support you and make you feel good. So what are those little things that you can do that just as a breath of, allows you to relax into it more?
Yeah. What got you into this work?
Let's see. Long story short, I
Hmm.
had mentioned before we pushed recording, for me, it was COVID that set everything off, kind of flipped
Okay.
my life on its side. And that brought me to personal development work, which brought me to meditation. And after a few years of meditating, my hands would always heat up when I meditated. And I looked that up, and that was a sign of being an energy healer. So I studied angel Reiki and was certified in that. And I started working with people. I enjoyed it, but I didn't quite feel aligned. And I work with the archangels. They kept bringing signs into my world, the universe, of spaces. I moved a lot growing up as a kid. I've always enjoyed. It's kind of natural for me to walk into a space and feel the energy and know what could be better. But
Mm.
I didn't realize that was a thing. So then I started learning more about that, and I just prayed one day. I asked my angels and spirit guides, how can I take what I've learned and apply it to spaces? Because this sounds great, but I have no idea how to do it. And they kind of gave me a whole download of using the chakra system and the Reiki work that I do and applying it then to blueprints of homes and clearing the spaces. And I've gone off with that and really enjoyed it.
Mm. So, when you work with a client, what does that look like? If
Yeah.
somebody reaches out to you, like I'm just thinking these pictures are flashing in my mind's eye of, the cubicle in the office space or the work from home area where I mean, that's a new thing since COVID, right? Newer
Yes.
that people are
Mhm.
navigating. What are some of the struggles people are coming to you with? I'm just curious.
Yeah. So when I work remotely, and the intake is basically three questions. First, do you have any intention to set? So I've worked with people who have found there's kind of communication issues. They moved into a new home and there have been communication issues within the family at home. Or I worked with a client who wanted to connect deeper with her intuition and have that clarity when working and creating in her home. Or I've had a client who was just felt stuck herself, her energy, and wanted to be able to welcome more abundance and get things in her business flowing. So there are a range of different intentions that come in. Then I ask for just a simple blueprint. So it doesn't have to be anything fancy, but a hand drawn sketch of the space so that I can make
Yeah.
sure and dress each room. If it's a home, the outside space in each room. And then any problem areas that kind of especially feel energetically sticky. And I start with that.
Okay. How does this compare to do people get this confused with feng shui?
Yes, it's related. I'm not certified in feng shui, though I've read a good bit about it. And I feel like feng shui is a lot of it has to do with preparing the space, like how can you move things? How can you change things to make them more aligned or more optimal? Whereas when
Mhm.
I work and I connect with the archangels, they always give little messages, but they first clear the space, the energy in the space, And then if there's something like, oh, this is a high traffic area, it could really benefit from a nice rock salt in the corner to help absorb that so it doesn't build up so quickly. Or this space needs a little more love and care. Sometimes I do see colors that align. Sometimes it is something that aligns more directly, like your front door is energetically the welcoming space, right? For energy, for opportunity, for abundance. So keeping that clear and healthy, so it's for the space, happy and healthy and clean inside and out, is a regular maintenance thing, but also a principle in feng shui. So
Hmm.
some of it aligns, but it's a little different. It's more because I'm using the Reiki and working with the angels.
That's so interesting because it just occurred to me that since a lot of us have moved to work from home, and if we didn't do an energetic check, or same thing if we are back at the office, if we didn't do that, could be somehow throwing things off a little bit in our career or in our businesses if we're entrepreneurs. So that's kind of just occurred to me as you were sharing all of that. When you're doing the energy clearing, do you ever pick up on energy that's in the home or in the office space that doesn't belong? And what does that look like? And can it be cleared?
It can be cleared, it always is cleared. I don't finish until it is cleared. It's looked different. I did come across a ghost in a home in London last year, and that was an unrelated identity, but the feelings of the ghost that had not crossed over were similar to the feelings being felt in the household and explained a lot of the issues there. So when we helped her cross over, that cleared up a lot. I've had homes where it's a loved one that's been stuck, so it was related in a sense, but there was more clear reason why the spirit was there. I've had other kind of energies that I've cleared. Every house is different. That's part of the fun of the work and part of the interesting, each one it's is custom. Each one is completely different, but they're all different kinds of energies and we clear them all. It's just one step at a time.
Yeah. For those of us that work from home on Zoom, and for those of us that work in the office, but have meetings and maybe there's like toxic situations that might be occurring, or maybe there was a very heated exchange in a Zoom virtual meeting that's now in your home space.
Mm.
Talk to us about that. Like, what are the impacts of that? Is there anything we can do to sort of help alleviate that? And also, on the flip side, if we're in a home that maybe has some energy that is angry or fearsome, and then we're trying to work from that space, how do we deal with all of that? What do we
Yeah, it's a
do with
lot.
all of that? Because then we're showing up in a meeting and then we're trying to work and be abundant in this, but then maybe somebody had a fight with their partner, or maybe they're
Right.
trying to have a beautiful, peaceful relationship, but then there's this crazy meeting they were just in that
Mm.
energy kind of leaks out into the area.
You're
So
right. We're
talk to us
energetic
about that.
beings and the experiences and just naturally from being kind of like dust naturally collects in the corners of the home, energetic clutter, energetic dust kind of collects in the corners of the home over time. But you're right, if there's a big experience like an argument or something, that too has its own residue and you can feel it. If you think about, someone who's had an argument in a room you weren't in and then you walked in, it's very apparent even though no one said anything. It's there in the air. Any of the spiritual tools that your listeners already like to use. If you like to use crystals, if you like to use burned sage, if you like to use sound, I always love that speaking an intention or a prayer or a blessing is so powerful in itself. So if you just take a minute to speak it, acknowledge it, and ask it to be cleared, that can do a lot. And a lot of the clients I work with are interested in these kind of things. And if you get to a point where you don't feel you can clear it yourself, then you can call someone like me who can come in and do a bigger energy clearing. But any of those tools that you have and taking care of yourself, if it feels like it's on you, even taking a quick shower to wash all that residue off can make you feel refreshed if you're able to take that time. But yeah, any of those spiritual tools can help you. That's the kind of thing where, as since energy we feel, will allow your intuition to lead to what the response is. Some houses I work with prefer sound, and I'm using my sound bowl and things. Some lean towards the crystals, and then I've got it mapped out with crystals in the corner. Allowing your intuition to lead really helps as well.
Yeah. One of the things that has struck me in this conversation is I'm an SQ21 certified coach, which is the 21 skills of spiritual intelligence for the workplace. And one of the skills is an awareness of the limits of our human perception. And the thought that I had as you were sharing is, if somebody punches someone in the face, we see the mark with our human perception,
Mhm.
potentially. Maybe there's some redness or a bruise. What sometimes our eyes don't see is when we're using words or having strong emotions or feelings towards someone, or when we're very, I guess I would say, emotionally charged, or there are emotionally charged situations that we are not necessarily seeing the red mark from the physical effect. But just because we don't see it with our eyes doesn't mean it's not there. And I think it's really important for us to feel into the spaces we're in. Does this feel heavy? Does my chest feel constricted?
Mhm.
When I walk into this space, do I feel like creative and open, or do I feel closed off? And am I starting to feel fear, negativity, anger? How do we differentiate between whether it's something external or internal?
I think they're related. I think really learning to care about how you feel and not just tolerating it, which a lot of us have been conditioned to do, and also to understand that we're all different, which I think sometimes makes it really difficult when you're going to work in somebody else's space and you have a little cubicle or you have a little space. But there's always something you could do, whether it's a nature print or, headphones with some music. There's always something you can do to support yourself. But all of these things are there to support you. So, like if I were to walk into a home and someone had art all over the walls, floor to ceiling, it would be beautiful, but it would really make me feel that tightness in my chest. I would get overwhelmed personally. That doesn't work for me for creativity. It's like too many things looking at me. So that's me, but for them, that might be the epitome of beauty and abundance to have all of that. So understanding that, a red wall for someone might be great and somebody else might not, that it's okay if you don't fit in the space, but if it's your space, you also have opportunity to make it fit for you. So that's those little changes of where do you recognize your energy being weighed down that we can then help lift it up.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about your book, Make Ease Your Vibe. One of the concepts in the book was about managing time intuitively. How would you recommend us high level leaders in the workplace or running a business tap into some of that and get out of the hustle schedule?
Yeah, I love this. I love this. My favorite phrase is time is squishy. But I actually learned this concept from Gay Hendricks' book, The Big Leap. He talks about Einstein time. It has a lot to do with mindset and this cosmic order you're putting out in the universe. So if you start, for instance, my example in the book and one that made a big impact in my life, I used to be like it was, the day was a race against time. And I would wake up saying, I don't have enough time. I don't have enough time. I don't have enough time. And then the universe would
Mm,
lovingly conspire to give me not enough time. And there would be extra chores or extra this or extra that. And then if I flip that script and say, I have more than enough time to do everything, then the universe helps conspire in that. So I don't think for me, it doesn't necessarily feel different. I don't think I feel like I'm moving faster or I'm checking things off the list faster. But then I look up and we're early to wherever we were going to, and I didn't mean to. So it kind of goes like that. And if we think of the extremes, if you're doing a wall sit at the gym, a minute feels like forever, at least it does for me. Or if you're doing something you love and savoring a beautiful dinner, 3 hours can go by in what feels like 30 minutes. So this idea that how we experience life is really what matters. And that a lot of us have been conditioned that it's the value is in the physical's the wrong word, is in the counted time that we have value. So you go to school from this hour to this hour. If you're there for the day, you get points. If you have an hourly job and you're an employee, if you sit in the chair from this hour to this hour, you're productive. No matter what you've done, the point is you're there and active. Whereas when we're entrepreneurs or when we look at time as experiential, the value then is in what we've done and not how much time we've spent. So I learned this lesson writing my book. I heard from a lot of people, oh, go off to Bali for 3 weeks and focus and write this beautiful book. And as a mother of 2 young kids at the time, that wasn't really a thing. But I really always had it on my heart to write a book. So I said, okay, I'm going to sit down after dinner every day, set a timer for 15 minutes, see what happens, but I'm going to commit to showing up every day 15 minutes. And in 6 weeks, I had my first draft done. So it really blew my mind and okay, the expectation was I needed focus time, nonstop, nobody talking to me for 3 weeks, night and day. But reality was I just needed to commit and I could get the work done in a different amount of time. So if you can separate yourself from this conditioning of the productivity is in a certain amount of time. Oh, it takes me 30 minutes in the morning to get ready. Meh. Yes. But is anything possible? If you truly believe anything is possible, then time can be squishy and flow differently. You can flow at that higher frequency and things can come to you. You have to call 3 people. Well, what if those 3 people call you? You don't have to worry about it, and that alleviates some of that. So allowing that energy to flowing at that higher frequency, making ease part of your everyday, I've found you can get way more done than ever before and still feel good about it.
Wow, such good advice for those of us in the hyperachieving world
Yes.
to listen to and be reminded of. Thank you for that. So we're having this conversation and it's spring, and you
Yes.
talk about having a spring refresh mentality. Can you tell us what that means and how we can have that?
Yes. Well, I've created a freebie if anyone would like to check that out. It's deliciousease.com/spring. But the idea is really to welcome in those 3 elements that we talked about before. Light, air, and nature are these foundational elements that really affect us at a subconscious level that we don't even realize. And so if you can set the tone in your home or your workspace for those 3 things to support you and to be things that, just make it a nice environment for you to operate in, then you've really given yourself that refresh that allows that fresh thinking and that creativity to flow and that connection to intuition. You're not internally battling these little things, that can relax. You're not in survival mode anymore because you're in your ideal little spot.
Mm. Yeah, thank you for sharing that tip. Okay, so I'm going to swing us way back for a second to something you mentioned in the beginning because I have this question I have to ask. You mentioned that some clients that you worked with had energy or ghosts or entities in their living space that you picked up on that you were able to clear. So, my question is if we walk into a space and it feels heavy, or if all of a sudden there's a lot of arguing when there wasn't before, is it possible that there's some sort of energy in that space that isn't yours that is affecting this behavior? I guess I'm trying to say, how do we decipher between that? How do we decipher if this is me making these decisions or if it's someone else? And then that dips me into like the empath feeling everything. And how do you decide what's yours and what's not and all of those things? When do we decide we need to call K Margaret?
Well, usually when you've tried what you know and it's still not better, that's when you call me. But I
Mm,
think energetically protecting yourself, so taking a moment to center yourself. I often think of either a golden light showering down and creating a bubble, or a golden light coming up from the ground and creating a bubble around me, just so I feel I've got that energetic protection. But tuning into how you feel and asking. A lot of I mean, I always talk about it with angels. There are trillions of angels around us ready to help, but free will is first. And so you ask and then they help. So just ask, is this mine? Or you can ask yourself, is this my feeling or is this someone else's? And usually the answer is pretty quickly comes, oh, no, I wasn't angry 2 minutes ago, but now I feel really fired up. All right, there's some sort of energetic cloud here that you're picking up on and absorbing that's not yours. So noticing those points, if it is a quick change and you don't do that or you didn't see any emotional trigger nearby, just being aware of the surroundings. But definitely we can absorb others' energy sometimes, and sometimes those are our spirits we don't even see.
Mm, interesting. I'm so interested in all of this. Okay, I'm going to give you, if you're open to it, three kind
Of
of
course.
rapid fire questions, and then we'll pull a message for everyone from the Create Magic at Work journal prompt card deck. If you're a leader and you have to make a very difficult, high stakes decision, what's a quick grounding ritual they can utilize to ensure that decision comes from their higher self versus their ego?
I find if you're sitting or if you're standing, if you can firmly plant your feet on the ground, some people find it really helpful to imagine roots growing from the bottom of your ground into the earth, like really solidly, like a tree grounding you in. And then when I did energy work, I learned something called the sway test. So you kind of establish whether it's forward and back or right or left, what the options are, and ask. And just naturally watch which way your body
Mm,
tends to fall. And that can help you tune into your intuition because you have the answer inside. Like you said, it's just a matter of being able to hear it so you can walk in that
that's
direction that's
interesting. I'm
best for
like,
you.
it's almost like human pendulum, you know?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
cool. Okay, more of the delicious ease rapid fire. What is one physical item every leader should have on their desk to keep their energy clear, high vibe, grounded?
That is a fantastic question I've never received. I mean, I love to work with crystals and I find them wonderfully grounding. I have a wonderful labradorite that encourages intuition and spiritual growth that I keep on my desk. When you're picking a crystal, just follow your intuition, but they are grounding themselves. We wonderful, fickle humans vary our mood all the time and our energy frequency goes up and down. Crystals don't, they
Mm,
maintain that one stronghold. They do need to be cleared regularly. Once a month, I put mine in the moonlight, and then when it's a full moon. But otherwise, I find them steady companions. And often, when I'm doing energy work, I draw three from my collection that represent my spirit guides. So for me, a grounding crystal does a lot.
okay. Okay, final one. If someone just had a very heavy or tense meeting or difficult conversation or explosion with their partner, and then they've got to go into a meeting, what's the fastest way they can do something to clear their energy?
Movement. Yeah, you definitely want to lead from a good place, from a regulated energetically speaking place. So
Mm,
whether that's tapping for you, EFT tapping, whether that's jumping up and down, whether that's listening to, a 1 minute of a song and dancing it out, but wherever you can take some space and move that energy so you're not just holding it, but allow some of it to release back to the earth and off of you, that can make a big difference.
okay. Now I have to do Delicious Ease 3.5 rapid fire. I have one more question.
Okay.
What do you think is the biggest myth about spiritual leadership in the corporate space?
Oh, that it's negative. I think there's so much fear around spirituality. I mean, it did so much good for me to learn there is no darkness, that darkness is only the absence of light.
Mm,
Spirituality is light. You are bringing light into a situation. You are acknowledging that we are not just mind and body, but that we are spirit. And that even if we have not, a lot of us, been taught to acknowledge the things that are unseen, they exist here with us all the time, everywhere. And to allow yourself intuition, to allow yourself to connect with others on that level that, you know, shows respect without necessarily the gesture or the words, but the way you are, that energy that you lead with, that aura that you lead with around is surrounding you and people pick up on it. To allow that space to exist and to exist to your benefit is a positive thing. I think people fear maybe what they don't understand, or they fear these dark energies, but we are light beings, and it is, in my experience, nothing but positive work.
Mm, such a beautiful, beautiful way to end that final question. Love that. Okay, I'm going to pull a card for everyone from the Create Magic at Work journal prompt card deck. And let's see what message we get for everyone listening today. Oh, we got patience. So, the affirmation for everyone is I trust the timing of my life and know that I am exactly where I am supposed to be right now.
Oh,
I
that's
trust the
fantastic.
timing of my life and know that I am exactly where I am supposed to be right now. Okay, K Margaret, I'm going to ask you a question from the card, your
Mm.
advice to us and the listeners. What work can we do today that will lead to prosperous outcomes in our future?
This is a great card, and I think it's really timely for 2026 because there's definitely been an energetic upheaval. I think a lot of us are feeling it differently this year.
Hmm.
But I think one thing you can do to help your future self is a positive mindset. And I know that can get twisted a lot and to feel like, oh, that, fake positivity all the time. I think it's more allowing yourself to believe that anything is possible. I think we say a lot, anything is possible, but we don't, then we put conditions on it. We don't actually believe it. So allowing your heart to soften and warm to that anything is possible. The universe is conspiring for your best interest, and to remember that even if we can't see it as we walk through it, things are happening for your highest good, and to maintain that perspective to set yourself, future self up for success.
Mm, great perspective to end today with. If someone listening wants to connect with you and virtually have an office clearing or a home clearing, or just like learn more about your work, check out your book or your podcast, where can they go to
Thanks.
find all that?
Yeah, all that information is on my website, deliciousease.com. Also on socials at Delicious Ease. And like you mentioned, my podcast is Intuitive Wisdom. And I look forward to hearing from everyone.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sending some magic to everyone today and for being here with us to help create magic at work.
Amen. Thank you so much.
I want to thank each and every one of you for being here as we explore what it really means to create magic at work. If this conversation resonated with you, or if someone came to mind while you were listening, share the episode with them. Help others who are looking for these types of conversations find us. And don't forget to follow, subscribe, rate, and review so you're notified when the next episode airs. Until next time, keep edge walking, keep challenging the way things have always been done, and keep making magic at work.
Thank you for tuning in. You've been listening to a Magic Thread Media podcast.